So yeah, Japan, a country that has given the world incredible technology, innovation, design, automobiles, entertainment, and so much more. But there is another Japan, Japan that is building new business, creating new technology, connecting with global markets, and preparing for what comes next. And today, we want to explore that Japan. Welcome to Japan Beyond Borders, a new conversation from Cartech Insider. I'm Rahul Vosley, and joining me is someone who I think is uniquely positioned to have this conversation. Maki Mazuno, welcome.
Hey, Rafa, thank you for having me here. We are
Eh,
really excited to do a podcast together and let's discuss the opportunity Japan, the world.
Great, great, great. It's lovely to have you, Maki. You're on the show. So, Maki, if someone outside Japan asked you today, why should I be paying attention to Japan? What would you tell them?
Because Japan is still full of potential, some people might understand that Japan is kind of developed countries and here like all markets are occupied, but still compared to other countries, Japan has blue ocean market. So the foreign startups, foreign companies should come into Japanese market because there is still market you can come into.
Oh, that's interesting. Because when we think about Japan, we often think about technology, automobiles, robotics, tradition, and some of the world's biggest companies. But I think there is another side of Japan that the world doesn't always see.
True. Especially Japan is now facing so many social issues. Let's say aging population, like birth rate is decreasing, which is Japan struggling to find a solution towards that. But still, like we need a more knowledge or creative solution to maybe from outside of Japan that innovation coming to Japanese social issues.
Okay, okay, that's lovely to hear. So, Maki, when you no, when as you were working in a technology, media, and global business, so what made you interested in working around Japan? It's like, what was the idea behind it?
You mean the technology and
Yeah, the technology, media, and global business.
oh, because it's really important for not just Japanese market but global market as well. Because IT nowadays connecting like making it possible which in the past couldn't make it happen. Let's say AI. How many companies like including us, how many workers actually optimizing their works and minimizing the hours. Normally, like they have to spend lots of hours to working on some tasks, but minimizing the tasks. So, which means we can use our brain for creative work. That's why, like the AI IT field has huge potential to make an innovation. That's why I'm keeping an eye on it. Also, like media. After I want to ask you the question, same question as well, but like media has huge potential, I believe. That's why like I decided to do a collaboration with you. You know yourself what's the power of media, right?
So for me, it's started with curiosity, but quickly it became about the opportunity. So we hear so much about Silicon Valley. We hear about India, we hear about Singapore, Europe, but Japan has an incredible technology. It's about a business ecosystem of its own. And what really interests me is the gap between what Japan is doing and how much of that story the rest of the world actually sees. So,
Mhm.
and when I started like talking to you, Maki, I realized you bring something very different, and you understand Japan very deeply. But you're also building connections between Japan and the global ecosystem, and that combination made this conversation very natural.
Mhm.
So, Maki, you've described yourself as someone building a cross-border bridge between Japan and the world. What do you think the world misunderstands about Japan?
Oh, the when I go to overseas, like let's say business conference, they think Japan is like robotic countries, like IT, everything is advanced. But like to be honest, I think like software part is behind of China and the US because like Japan is used to be really strong about the manufacturer hardware side, but like nowadays trying like AI companies lazying as well, but still compared to US, China a bit behind. That's why like Japan's is open for collaboration with foreign companies. But because of politics, because of like, I don't know, the people seeing the news, Japan looks like closed market, but actually not. We are open for the collaboration.
Okay, okay. I completely agree, Maki. Like we often see the Japan that already has a global recognition, but not enough people building the next Japan, and we know about them. And that I know I completely agree with all the local politics and everything that is got involved. Uh, so yeah, I can completely resonate to that. To ask you one more thing, like why did you uh, want to know why no what made you do a podcast with Kavtek and Cider?
Oh, because like one reason is you are well connected to the global audience, which is really important because like I use normally SNS like LinkedIn, Facebook, but like audience is someone living in Japan. But like I have to post and I have to share the things happening in Japan to outside of Japan because people have to understand what's happening in Japan, and because Japan is looking for the collaboration from overseas, corporates, investors, founders as well. But hard things to come into Japanese market is language and the cultural side as well. Because Japan is such a unique country, even different from China, Korea, like neighboring countries, we have really specific, unique, unspoken rules, which is really making hard for foreign companies to come into Japanese market. That's why doing collaboration with you, the podcast, maybe I can share some hints or information to make it easier to come into Japanese market.
Great, great, great to hear that. And like Maki, what does beyond borders mean to you?
For me, beyond the border means going outside of your comfort zone because when I'm seeing the Japanese companies, because Japanese market economy is still big, even like number four's size of the economy, but still big enough. That's why Japanese companies seeing inside of Japan, which means like Japanese company prefer to sell the things to the Japanese companies. But I think the important thing is like making circulation like not just inside of Japan, but I got bringing more foreign collaboration from outside of Japan as well because Japanese economy is gradually shrinking. So if we keep just doing inside of Japan, the circulation cycle become like smaller and smaller, and I don't know what's gonna happen in the future, like 200 years later. That's why to make this circulation happen, we have to go outside of comfort zone to doing the things more bigger things. Otherwise, world is changing. We have to keep up with the speed. Well,
Right.
what do you think about the for you the beyond the
For
borders?
me, borders aren't completely geographical. They
Mm.
can be language, culture, business practices, technology, or simply lack of understanding. And sometimes the biggest barrier between two markets isn't money or technology, it's understanding each other. So I see this podcast as a two-way bridge. It is more about bringing Japanese idea to the world and bringing global perspective closer to Japan. So that is what beyond borders means for me. If you ask me that same question,
Mm. That's really important. Like,
that's great. So Maki, where do you see the biggest opportunities between Japan and India?
oh, Japan, India. Last year, first time I went to India in my life, and I saw the difference. Japan and India. The huge difference is the average of the population. I mean, the age. India's population's average age is like 27, 8, right? But Japan is like 40s, mid 40s. So I felt that India is generating like young powers. So which means creating innovative ideas. They are more flexible. I can say like India doesn't have much rules compared to Japan. Like no, like not so much regulations. That's why more flexibility, more freedom to try the test the market. But Japan's we are kind of mature market and the age is a bit higher. That's why we have many regulations. Even new technology coming, it's really hard to test the product because people might think like, oh, this product gonna hurt the people, then like who's gonna take responsibility? Then nobody actually can test that new product. That's the difference. So I saw like the great opportunity for between India and Japan, and we can learn each other, because Japan is mature market, India is new market. Japan can get the new innovation seeds from India. Also, India can learn how the product actually growing, and how to become more mature market. So we can do co-learning, you know.
Right. I think there is an enormous potential. Like what India brings in scale, technology, talent, a strong startup ecosystem, and a global mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And what Japan actually brings is deep technological expertise, manufacturing strength, engineering, and a culture of quality. So those strengths can complement each other. That's what I think. I think we'll see more opportunities across AI, robotics, manufacturing, mobility, startups, and technology. So, but before business comes understanding, and I think that's one of the bridges, what we can help build. So, what kind of people do you want us to bring on this podcast, Maki?
Definitely, we should bring the people relating to the startup ecosystem builders. Let's say I want to bring the people from Tokyo government or like local government as well, also big corporates and startup founders, investors, because ecosystem is not just made by the founders and investors, because there is a many people, academic people, students sometimes. So I want to bring the people who has motivation to change this world and bring some innovation to Japan. That kind of ambitious people I want to bring to this podcast. Which kind of person you want to bring?
So, I completely agree with you. Uh,
Hmm.
I don't want us to only speak with the biggest CEOs or the most famous name. I
Hmm.
want to meet people who are actually building something. So,
Yeah.
like founders, technology leaders, investors, say creators, innovators, like people who are taking Japanese companies global and people bringing global business into Japan. So,
Hmm.
sometimes the most interesting stories aren't from the biggest companies. So, they are from the people trying to build what's next. So, I think I have one more question. I think that's the last one. What
Okay.
is the one thing you want the world to understand better about Japan?
Maybe it's overlapping the answer, but Japan still have blue oceans. Looks really difficult to come into Japanese market. I receive many messages on LinkedIn, Facebook every day, like I want to come into Japanese market, but what can I do? Maybe because there is a lack of information how to come into Japanese market, because as I said, the Japanese market is super unique. Even if I'm foreigners, maybe I can't find the information to how can I go to Japan, because it's really hard to come in. And especially still there is many Japanese companies are having branch overseas, but not many. Let's say big corporate has overseas branch, but small medium size of companies they don't have branch overseas. So to approach those companies, how can they approach other than sending them messages? And what if that founders don't understand any English? How can they communicate? That's why there is a still gap between Japan and the world. But still, I want everyone to remember Japan has still blue ocean to come into. But that's our job to make it easier for foreign collaborators to come into Japanese market, because we still have to work on the language barrier, cultural difference, unique business rules, regulations. We have to support them, otherwise innovation won't happen.
That's true. That's true. That's very well put up, Maki. I think no. There's. I also want people to understand that Japan isn't just a country with a great history. It's a country with a very interesting future. So, like we often focus on Japan, the world that already knows. But I want to discover Japan being built right now. The entrepreneurs, the technology, the next generation, the global ambitions. That's the Japan I want to explore, and that's why we are here. So this is the first conversation, but hopefully it's the beginning of many more.
Yes.
So many more conversations, connections, and stories between Japan and the world. So this is Japan Beyond Borders. Let's go beyond the borders. See you next time. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye bye.